instead of folks in public utilities account. It was saying you can't do what you want to do because I don't have my personal one set up. I think we're good.
So at this point, whenever I say go, we're already recording.
Correct. We are recording as of right now.
Cool.
Let me just make sure. Yep. You may begin.
Give it 30 seconds. I thought Bob was coming in or somebody was coming in.
Greg, when you can, you may want to unmask because you're quite muffled.
I will. I'll do my best to remember when I'll do my best.
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I have it at 1 o'clock here on November 18th, 2020. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Kathy, do you want to handle roll call? Check off everybody you need to check off?
Perhaps you could just say who's in the audience.
Okay, so we have Barbian and Jennifer Barrows from the City Council, Keith Butcher's here, Greg Hampton's here, Kathy Oman is here, Rick Schwartz is attending via Zoom, as is Dan Erickson. We have some approval of the minutes. Can we do these all at one swell swoop, or do we have to do them in? We have the minutes of the regular meeting, minutes of the special meeting, and the minutes of the closed meeting that have to be approved. So the question is, can they be done en masse, as they were?
If I may ask a question.
Yeah.
On the minutes?
Yes.
Just to make sure that I'm going to take this off. Just so that I make sure I do all of this properly. It might help if we add into the closed meeting minutes. We mentioned, that it was a discussion of the performance of the general manager. What came out of that meeting was some additional questions. So some additional information was requested. I think it might be good to have that specifically in there.
So just add to those minutes.
Yeah.
Additional information requested.
Correct. Just so we're all transparent. So since I'm requesting a modification, we might want to do the first two at once and then do the closed ones separately.
So I guess I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session and the special meeting. We can approve those, and then we'll have a separate motion.
Yep. I have no
a separate
questions.
motion to approve. Sorry, Rick.
I have no questions on it, so I don't have a problem with it. Did Dan make a motion, or did you make a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion to
Okay, I'll second.
Approve it. Just make the motion. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. I think we got that one 3-0. The last one then would be approved, a motion to approve the closed session meeting. Sorry?
A motion to approve the closed meeting minutes as modified.
As modified. As modified. I meant to add that. Okay. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve those closed session meeting minutes as modified.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Second by Rick.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, carry. Okay, so we're going to go to public comment. Going to public comment section. Mr. Barbian, any? Okay. And we don't have, had we had any inquiries through the office?
We have not.
Everybody's shaking their head no. So then we will close that. On to number 4, the agenda additions and deletions. I would like to add to the agenda a closed session, probably make it 8E, 8 Echo,
Yeah.
for purposes of finishing up that closed session. Okay. Any other additions or deletions? The subject of the, right. The subject of that closed session is a continuation, basically, of our closed session from before, which is evaluation of Mr. Butcher's tenure here. I don't know how you want to phrase that, but you know what I
Just
meant.
general manager.
General manager's review. Okay, closed session. Are there any other additions or deletions? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Rick Schwartz,
I'll second that.
seconded by Dan. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. 3-0. Thank you. Moving on to number 5 then. Accounts payable. I don't think I have.
I don't have any questions on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 3-0 pass. That moves us on to number 6. Correspondence and reports. Keith, anything you have? I'm going to rotate here. Get you set up for comments. And whatnot.
Okay, we are on 6A under reports and correspondence, the SIPA board meeting. In your packet is our monthly update on the SIPA key metrics. It includes the meeting minutes from October 16th. And the only the other addition that I put in is to make sure that the commission is aware of the planned 2021 SIPA board meeting schedule. They're continuing to plan for those meetings to rotate through the member communities. However, we are continuing to do those meetings via Zoom. And as soon as we are able, as soon as SIPA is able, they plan to return to rotating hosts. So that's why you have the cities there, but I would anticipate we're going to continue on with some remote meeting for at least a little while yet. So that board meeting schedule is in your packet, so so you have that information as well. So that would be 6A, sir.
Okay. And electric department update.
In the electric department, for the generation plan, we have been conducting relay testing. The radiator project is complete, and we are working on a battery replacement for number 7. The battery replacement is to power the switchgear should we lose power and have to start up the engine ourselves. That's so it's an emergency power source. Those batteries, you know, they've hit the age of their lifetime and they've started outgassing, so it's time to replace those to make sure that they're operational when needed. On the distribution system, we did find a source for getting some scrap value for the old AMR meters, so we have moved forward with that. Continuing with some underground conversions, helped install some Christmas lights on the northeast corner of the roundabout on 95. Starting work on the Christmas streetlight decorations, we pulled those out, started testing them, make sure everything's functional. And the plan is to install them early next week, so Monday or Tuesday, so that they're up before Thanksgiving and ready for Small Business Saturday and all that. So we'll have the town looking really nice. We're also conducting some thermal mapping of the electrical system. That's just a thermal camera because you can start to identify shorts before they fail. We're doing that to be proactive in identifying weak areas within the system, and continuing on with tree trimming activities, again, to help with the reliability and make sure that those lines are taken care of. That would be the electric department update.
Okay, one question I have, we made a commitment in dollars, but I think we also made a commitment in terms of resources in helping with this Light Up Princeton campaign.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat the question in case they didn't hear. We donated money to the Light Up Princeton campaign, and in terms of services. I guess last I heard, I knew Public Works was going to do some of the install. Is there anything that the city needs help with?
I think the question really is, I don't know that Princeton Utilities has offered to provide any assistance.
Well, we said that, we might have room to store it, or, I mean, if there's something that we can help out with, let us know.
Well, currently the Public Works Department is trying to solve that, but if they have a snow event, then you can follow that with priorities.
Oh,
Then
okay.
there might not be enough people to help that.
Okay,
So in that case, maybe they can reach out to.
yeah,
whoever
just,
they-
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, give us a call. In particular, I guess I don't know exactly how the lights are being laid out, and if there is the need for a bucket truck and some higher, I just don't know. But if there's something there that we can help out with, please call us.
Are we not storing some of the light up stuff as they get it?
As from what I have heard, it's all at Public Works right now. And so it seems like there's enough room there. But again, if there's an issue, please just call us. We would have a little bit of room down where we keep some of the other street. I mean, these are some big decorations that you have. We'll do what we can.
Okay, then on the water.
Water department, we had continued on with the AMI replacements, conducted in-house filter testing, and then we are working with a contractor to look at a potential valve system replacement to understand what exactly that would mean, what costs are associated with it. I want to get a better handle on that before I come to the commission with any sort of proposal. So we're doing some investigation into what exactly our needs are going to be in that area.
Okay. City of Princeton update.
The city received some CARES dollars, and those CARES dollars have been expended. We've made some improvements here in this building. I don't see the speaker system that's supposed to be set up here.
They're still working on it, along with the TV and everything. They got the equipment, they just haven't put it on.
So that was one of the local entities that was funded. There was a number of local institutions that were funded, including the Princeton Utilities. Everybody's drawn the funds and expended those funds. They provided the documentations. Got pretty tight towards the end. We were wondering if Princeton Utilities were going to get the information together. A couple others too were right on the line as far as getting the documents in, but there was over $300,000 that was spent locally in the community. There was a business grant program that I think there was 7 participants, if I have that number correct. So there was good participation and a good outreach by the city in that use of the CARES dollars. That's one of the main pushes in the last couple of weeks, I would say, actually, probably more than a couple of weeks. The other thing I wanted to, I guess, ask more than report on, and Rick Schwartz, I understand you had some questions regarding Broadway development. Please air them.
I just was interested if they're still active, or are they gone, or?
Broadway Development, just for everybody's information, is a company that's looking at a couple of, I don't know how long they've been in town. We've been in contact maybe a month or so. They came up with an apartment proposal. I think they might have looked at your land at one point in time, Richard. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I know now, I think the site they approached us on was off of First Street, Roger Winkleman's land. As far as whether they step forward or not, I couldn't tell you, but they have the information. They've been treated like any other developer. For example, the developer across the street, Briggs. Briggs is a developer that is looking on First Street as well, and Princeton Utilities was involved when he came forward with the site plan. If Broadway comes forward, whether it be on Richard's site or some other site, with something that he wants the concept to review, it goes forward to the development review group and the planning commission. Broadway did go forward with a site plan, concept plan, and it went to the planning commission. I don't remember if at that time we had a discussion at the development. We didn't have our last development review meeting because there wasn't any new developments. Although Broadway could be considered. Did we talk about that at a past one?
Yeah, my question and concern was, I had met with Pat Briggs several months ago, and driving down First Street today, I see there's a lot of markings and activity going on as far as locations and whatnot. So it's my understanding that Briggs is solid to go through, but it's also my understanding that Broadway is not interested in Princeton any longer. I cannot hear Bob.
Excuse me. So we just had a conversation with him last week, and at that particular time, he was still evaluating the site that's owned by Winkleman,
Right.
as well as his application to proceed with the plat, as well as application for a TIF. There's a standard application that any developer could utilize if after they get some direction to utilize it. There's a couple of steps similar to Briggs that were laid out before him, and it's his choice, just like it would be anybody who would be working on your land. One of the questions I had, as developers sometimes talk, is the Princeton Utilities, the city doesn't provide, any cost for sewer, water, or road improvements. Does utilities provide or offer covering developer costs for water or electric?
It's actually on our future planning.
To provide incentives for developers to pay for their mains?
It's something that I would like to make Princeton more friendly to these developers that wish to enter into an agreement with our city and help our city grow. Right now, I think we could be a lot more friendly to people that are snooping around trying to find out if a project will work here or not.
How they're greeted here at utilities for the water, but I know they're greeted quite friendly at the city for sewer and streets.
Yeah, that's not, if I'm going to be just totally honest and open here without pulling punches, that's not the reports I have gotten from 2 or 3 different developers. I'm just laying it out there, Bob.
I've heard that well, especially historically. I think that a lot of developers have difficulty with some of the engineering reviews and requirements. I think to be put mildly. I think though that if you're talking to be friendly to pay for sewer, water, or streets, that's a completely different subject.
I'm not asking for that at all. I'm not proposing anything. What I'm proposing is which I would like to look on the PUC side, or can there be some incentive packages to welcome people into our city? Now, if that happens a year from now or next month, I don't know, but it would be nice to be able to work with the city if they can create something like that. And when a builder or developer comes in, there would have to be qualifications, of course, but if they come in and we jointly say, yes, this is what we could do for you. These are some funds that are available to you to help with the costs. I think that needs to be or should be looked at from both entities. Dan, from the Planning Commission, do you have any comments on that?
We're really excited to see one or both of those projects move forward from the Planning Commission. But yeah, I agree with you. I think from the PUC side of it, we should maybe look at incentivizing or some sort of program to just make things a little less cost prohibitive. Especially I've heard some rumors that some of those projects are right on the edge of deciding to pull the trigger or not. So if a little bit of incentive from us could help, I think that would be great.
Another example, Bob, is let's use 4th Avenue that runs on the golf course. If utilities are going to go down south all the way to County Road 2, which there's a need for that, because I also know Kent, okay, that with the mobile homes. I meet with these guys. I stay in touch with these guys. I've known many of them for a long time. If the utilities are going to be run along that road and the road needs to be updated regardless, I don't think it's fair to tag them, whoever they are, to pay for a brand new road and make it better than what it is, fully on their back. That's just a straight example to me. It's like a penalty. I mean, the road is there right now. If the city wants to improve it, they can improve it. But if you're going to put all of the expense on whatever developer wants to do that, if it's Kent or whoever it may be in between, and they share that cost of that expense, that's fine. But then the city, in my opinion, should step up and update their own road.
Well, just for everybody's knowledge, then, Richard Schwartz, I want to just make it clear, set the record straight. In the discussions that have occurred, first, that road is not slated for improvement at all, unless the development would go forward. And for example, the golf course you mentioned, if they wanted to go forward, what they were asked to take as their share was what would be necessary to serve their property. And that would be the additional width, as well as stormwater, addressing stormwater. And it was indicated to them that we would look at the city to address the center portion of the road, that portion that's existing. Now, we didn't have a way to do that at this particular time, but that was the way it was addressed and in the discussion. So that's fairly.
Guys, I'd like to
interrupt. Wait, just one second. And to your point, to be not putting all costs to the developer. Now, if you wanted to go a step further and have utilities pay for water, that's up to them.
We don't want to go further with discussing road development at a PUC meeting.
They're connected.
I understand it's an issue.
So just so they can hear you.
Oh, sorry. We don't want to discuss road development. It's a discussion that can be had about incentives for developers as they come into the city and combining something that the PUC might offer with what the city might offer, and I'd be more than happy to add that to an agenda, but that's not on today's agenda. So I appreciate everybody's interest.
A city report, so I'd be happy to address that at any point in time. But the city does have a policy on that. We do have some programs that are. So just for everybody's knowledge, but and again, Richard Schwartz, if you have any particular questions, give me a call. I've had a couple of calls of people talk to you that said you had questions, and I'd be happy to talk to you direct. You don't need to ask other people.
Yeah, no problem. No problem, Bob. I don't have any problem calling you or stopping and visiting with you. I'm just sharing some things. I'm not upset with anybody. I just think there's some great opportunities, great interest that's happening. And if we can aid to those in some way, shape, or form, at least make them feel neutral instead of maybe upset. I don't know. we don't want to lose anybody. We want to always look at all of our options. That's it. And Mr. Chair, I didn't mean to get into a discussion with this. I was just merely trying to answer Bob's question.
Okay, anything else, Bob, from the city or Mr. Gerald? Okay.
Okay, I do want to make one comment though, in regards to the CARES funding. We did have the bulk of that stuff submitted weeks ago to the city. I know there was some confusion because Steve had moved out of his office, it was being repainted, and he had lost a lot of the invoices and eventually found them, I think, with the chamber stuff. The only things that we were waiting on was the touchless faucets, the HVAC stuff, and then there was the Zoom subscription, which I got to him as soon as we possibly got it. But the bulk of that stuff was submitted a lot earlier. And
Are you making your meetings available to others via Zoom?
we are using the Zoom so that we can connect with the commissioners, and then we're streaming that on YouTube Live so that members of the public can watch it that way.
So, YouTube Live?
If they want to watch it live. Otherwise, we do post the videos. If we run into a problem, I do post all the videos later. I'm going to go through some of the stuff in more detail later on, but just as part of our standard report, our cash reserves on the electric is at 111 and water is 524. We're continuing on with stakeholder engagement activities. We posted a video on Monday, kind of just a highlight reel of all the past videos showing the staff history and facilities of Princeton Public Utilities. We have begun our annual reviews for staff. As part of that process, I did go through an update and rewrote many of our job descriptions to make them more current. Those will all be completed by the end of the year. In regards to something I had mentioned at a previous meeting for collective bargaining, I am continuing to meet with the state's Bureau of Mediation Services. There are still some outstanding questions, so we're working with the state on that, but no date for a vote has been set as of yet. Also wanted to just share some information, and I didn't have this in the packet. I did send it out to the commissioners beforehand, just so folks were aware. Excel has filed for a 20% rate increase over the next 3 years due to COVID expenses. We'll see where all of that goes, but I know Excel's been feeling a lot of financial pressure as well. I just thought that the commission would find it interesting that Excel is looking at a 20% rate increase, which is the largest I've ever seen over a 3-year period. So that's just an FYI for the commission so they understand where other utilities are at regarding their rates.
It's interesting that they have 14% for the first year.
Yes, the chairman just said that they have 14% for the first year on the residential side. Yeah, it is kind of front loaded in their operations. And it's because they're, everybody's under tremendous financial strain right now. So that's all I had, unless there are questions.
Any updates on AMI and EV?
So going to 7A, the AMIs, we're at 47.5% electric, 21.9% water have been converted. For the EVs, we have finished the installation of the DC fast charger. We're waiting to commission that unit. We work very closely with Coburn's. Since the installation required an outage, we timed everything with them. We had our staff out there very early one morning so it didn't disrupt their business. That all went very smoothly.
Are we still approaching people's water meters with the
Okay.
changing them out?
No, I have that as part of my COVID update.
Okay.
The chairman was asking about an AMI, what we're doing with AMI under current COVID rules. So I have that in the next section, if I may. For the COVID update, we have seen a recent surge, both locally and nationally. As a result, on Monday, I implemented some protocols to ensure that we keep our staff and our customers safe. We have suspended all AMI installations indefinitely. Re-emphasize the use of masks and social distancing in the workplace, limiting vehicle occupancy to one individual. So we're using, I'm having folks, if we need 2 people at a site, driving separately, just to be safe. We're utilizing the office space at the water treatment plants more. We have even set up tables in the power plant for staff that might want to take breaks so that they can be separate and not all be in the break room. We are limiting outside visitors wherever possible. We continue to enforce cleaning protocols. I anticipate that we're going to remain working under these conditions at least through the holidays is my plan. So a large focus over the next winter months will therefore be on individual projects and training as much as possible so that we be productive and are ready to come out on the other side, ready to tackle the projects that need to be done. So that's what I've implemented this week in response to current conditions.
I don't know if you all get the Tiger Times, but the Princeton Public basically long distance grade kids are having some in-house, but intermediate schools, junior high, senior high are all on distance learning for what looks like the balance of this year. So, your suggestions here kind of fall in line with what the school systems are doing. With the uptick in cases, both not only the number of cases that have been reported, but the number of deaths just in Mille Lacs County have taken a kick just lately. And so I think being cautious, whether it's a state mandate or not, it's good citizenship to behave ourselves, wear our masks when appropriate, and keep those distances. So, all right, that finishes up ongoing business then, and we'll move to number 8. And the audited business.
Yes, in your packets is an engagement letter to conduct our 2020 audit. We are continuing on with Mayor Porter and Nelson. You will see that the engagement letter is for a fee of $10,750. I have asked around with what other utilities are paying, and that's really good. Really good. I haven't found anybody that's anywhere close to that. So I feel, we've been very happy with their performance, and I would like to continue to work with them on our audit. So we are asking for the commission to approve this engagement letter and have Meyer, Porter, and Nelson be our auditor for 2020.
How long have we been with?
That would need a motion. Mayor Porter and Nelson.
I'm looking at Kathy. It's been a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, she said the 80s or earlier. It's been a long time. They have been our auditor for a considerable period of time, which is why I think the price is what it is because they know our system. They know our accounting and that we're following their rules. And so it ends up being, I think, a pretty reasonable effort on their part to provide that service. So we're getting benefits from that.
Just 10,750, any kind of a change over the 2019?
I believe it's the same. Kathy, do you remember? I believe it's the same number.
It rings a bell with me, that's why.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we paid for this year's, or 2019 audit.
That being the case, then
Any
I
other
will make
questions,
a motion
gentlemen?
to continue doing business with Mayor Porter and Nelson.
I'll second that.
It's been made and seconded. Any discussion beyond that? Hearing nobody speak up. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
That's 3. Thank you very much. Motion is carried. 8B, bravo.
8B is the 2021 fee proposal. And I just want to point out that in these next items, I am not looking for approval at this time. I am simply introducing different ideas to let the commission know what we're thinking, give you guys some time, think it over. As questions come up, please let me know. And then we would move to put these on the agenda for next month for final approval. So this is still just a discussion point. The fee schedule, what we're looking at the moment is keeping the, excuse me, the utility deposits the same. We did add in for future use an AMR meter reading fee. If the commission remembers, we had a discussion about our AMI replacement protocols, where we would reach out to customers via individually mailed letters, via phone calls and emails, via door hanger, and at a certain point, if the customer has not responded back, and we need to move on and get everybody replaced to an AMI, that we would start charging a monthly meter reading fee for that old technology. So that's in there. That's not something it's not for everybody that gets an AMR starting January 1. That is only once their area has been converted to an AMI and we've been unable to get in and replace their meter. So that's just that's for future use, is what I should say. We did discuss earlier too about potentially removing the load management credit. We're not getting the value out of that system that warrants those continued credits of $5 per month. I think it's worthwhile to just discontinue that program. And then we did have a previous conversation regarding the fees associated with the use of the DC fast charger, given the large investment that is required for a mini sub and doing the wiring. ZEF's recommendation, the contractor that works on EV chargers, was standard connection fee is $5 per connection and 30 cents per minute after that. So that's been added to the schedule. The other big change that I am recommending is under electric construction charges new service, the cogen small power production application fee. That currently is at $100, but we've had some of the engineering review costs come back at $350. I think that's a better representation of what our cost to provide that service is. So I'd like to recommend increasing the application fee for the cogen small power production application from $100 to $350.
What is that?
Solar PV systems. Solar PV systems. So if somebody puts in a solar system on their house, they have to interconnect with the grid. We need to have the proper shutoffs because we don't want it to backfeed in and potentially harm alignment. And there are some requirements via the state in terms of how that interconnection is. There's just involved engineering. So we hire a consulting engineer to just review it, make sure it meets the detail through the MMIP, the Minnesota Municipal Interconnection something. So, I just want to have that reviewed to make sure that everything is safe and meets code. And yeah, the $100 is not covering our cost.
So that's something we could, that's not something that Ryan goes out and says we're good. This is something you're having outside people come in and.
Actually, it's kind of both. We have an outside person look at the schematics, look at the specifications and make sure that everything meets state requirements. We do ask them to let us know when they're going to energize, and we try to be out there so that we understand, okay, we can do our own on-site check to make sure that everything's working well. So we do both, but I'm more concerned about our outside consultant fee in the engineering review. So that's where that change is coming from. And then in terms of the equipment rates and labor rates, I did just escalate those, just a little bit. They had been the same for quite a period of time. At the very least, I wanted to put it in just some inflation adjustments on that. So I tweaked each of those up a little bit. Now, really when we're looking at it, the changes in those fees, the application fee, the DC fast charger, I think, at the end of the year, it's nominal. For example, the cogen application fee, I think we had 2, maybe 3 last year. These are not high volume activities for us. I just want to try to make sure we cover our costs for each of those services. So those are for your consideration. If there's any questions now, I'd be happy to try to answer those. Otherwise, over the next few weeks, if you're looking through that and you have some questions, please contact me. Happy to get you whatever you need.
Any questions, gentlemen? Sure.
So that AMR meter reading. So now, is that something that our meter that we have downtown could be retrofit with, or is it already able to have a similar charge if we wish?
The AMR meter, what meter downtown?
The quick charge,
Okay.
Quick charge,
Okay.
We have a regular standard.
Okay. You're actually referring to the EV charger rate. Okay. That is totally up to you if you want to put one
Is
on.
it able to be done? Is it already meter reading?
It is not. I mean, keep in mind, this fee is for a DC fast charger. What the city has is a level 2. So it didn't require the same infrastructure. Now, on the level 2, yes, you can do a charge on those, but you will have to weigh the pros and cons with that, because in order to do that, you're going to need to be able to have a card reader, which that does not have. And if you have a card reader, that also means you need to have a Verizon ATT connection, so that when people get their card read, it goes to the internet and gets their account and knows what to deduct.
What is your intent for your other?
My thought, and we have not had this conversation as a commission yet on the level 2s for what a charge would be. My thought at the moment is probably not, because I don't think that the monthly operating costs makes sense. So part of what I think we want to do is promote the technology, promote more people to use this stuff. I think eventually we will get there. That would be my expectation.
Okay.
The second question I have is the senior citizen age 62. Does that mean that for whether they are looking at a commercial, residential, or for that matter, industrial, then they would just pay us $75?
No, that's a residential deposit. The senior citizen age 62 at $75 is a residential deposit. Correct.
Keith, if I may.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
as I look at the first 3 residence non-electric heat apartment, I think you're missing a category there for resident electric heat apartment. I don't know if you're charging.
No, we just do one electric heat deposit. We don't make a distinction between apartment and non-apartment in that case.
Okay, so if you're in an apartment with electric heat, the deposit is $400.
Correct.
Okay, I would like the commission to consider, since you have an apartment category already, to have a electric heat apartment. And I'm just for your consideration to think about that if we brought the non-electric heat apartment to 200, brought the electric heat apartment to 250, and brought the residential non-electric to 300, and the residential electric to 350, I'd like you, the commission, to consider that. Qualify through our application form, which in my case is very, very difficult. That's one level that they have gone through already. And then if their payment history from prior is solid, it may not matter at all. But a lot of my tenants are there for many, 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 many years. So I don't know what happens at the front. I know that some of them have come to the window and said, look, here's my history of payment. I'm never late. And what happens then, it's between the two of you. But it's a minor adjustment. You're adding one little category because it shouldn't, in my eyes, it shouldn't fall in between an apartment that has electric heat, $400, which that also qualifies for a house. So the house obviously is residential electric base heat. Those two in my eyes shouldn't be the same. So we don't have to go any deeper than that right now, but just for the commission to consider it.
Well, this is Mr. Butcher's Mr. Butcher's recommendation, and I think that probably at our budget meeting, we're going to have to finalize, but we'll have to have that discussion. I think it's worth having. We have a fairly significant population of apartment dwellers in our community, and I think we need to give that some thought as we go forward instead of just putting a rubber stamp and marching forward. We need to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I'm not saying I agree with you at this point, Rick, but I think it's a discussion worth having.
I agree.
Okay.
If I could just add something to that, Mr. Chair.
Please.
I know what I've been doing is subsidizing or basically vouching for my tenants, anything over $250. And I believe I've been doing that for about 7 years. And not once that I recall have I had to pay for anybody's electric. So I think what you're saying, Rick, should be doable. I mean, in my experience, that hasn't been a problem at the 20 unit resident that I've been kind of sticking up for, or taking on that responsibility of anything over 250. So that's it.
Okay. As I said, I think this is worth having this discussion, and we'll make sure to get that on the agenda for the next budget meeting. Okay, that's sheet proposals done. 8C, Charlie, budget proposal.
For the 2021 budget proposal. The way that we split this out is we do separate out the electric and water departments. Excuse me. Looking at what we project our revenues to be in each customer class, including our other operating revenue. And then looking at our expenses, looking at the production plant, which on the electric side would be our power plant, and on the water side would refer to our water treatment facilities. The distribution, customer accounts, and the general and administrative costs. The non-operating revenue, which refers to some scrap sales and some dividends, and then the non-operating expense, which includes depreciation and some interest expense as well on there. Also did include kind of what our bond principal payments have been, along with the depreciation, and what capital expenditures that we have tried to pay for on an annual basis. One of the philosophies of this utility over the years has been to try to fund a lot of our capital upgrades through the annual revenues and allow the CIF, our Capital Improvements Fund, to build up over time for major activities. Think substation or a water tower refurbishment. And then just kind of looking at, after all of that, what do we kind of have to a little bit extra to in case revenues aren't quite where we're at, or we have some unanticipated expense. We went through all these in the work session, so I'm providing them here again. The only number that I think is significantly different is under the 2020 estimated year end. The expense for the production plant was the software tool that we have. I did not like how it calculated a year-end cost for that. It was calculating a year-end cost lower than what our actual year-to-date was, so that obviously doesn't make sense. I've updated that so that the balance for the 2020 estimated year-end is more in line with how we have operated, which is just under 200,000. So we have the electric, and then we have the water. You can see that we structured everything very similar, just to make it easy to go from one to the other in case there are any questions. The next page after that is, well, as I mentioned in the budget, we try to pay for a lot of our capital assets through the annual through our annual revenues. And so looking at some large projects, we are anticipating some things which I've included in the budget there. I should say in our annual budget, but also looking at a potential building addition, which would be on the south side of the potato warehouse. We are running out of room for some of our larger equipment. Continuing with the EV installations, the power plant battery packs that I mentioned earlier. Continuing the AMI electric work, which should that will get us through this year, and the electric AMIs will be converted. Continuing on with some underground work, we are looking at doing an engineering study, and I do have bids back for that already. So we'll be able to talk about those, and if everything looks good, approve those next month. And that will help us develop our long-term capital plan. Continuing on with the AMI water, this is an increase from what we had been doing. This year we spend about $100,000 on water AMI. I'd like to, and I would like to have the commission consider this, if it makes sense to spend $150 a year on the water AMI. What that will do is shorten that program, that we'll have the water conversions done by the end of 2023 instead of the end of 2024. So it would save us a year, and then prepare us for some other large capital expenses that are coming down the road after that. And then in the water budget, there is the work that would need to be done for phase 2 of the wellhead plan implementation, the wellhead plan protection. Wellhead protection plan. The implementation of that, we will have to do some consulting work on that, and we work with the Minnesota Department of Health to define that scope. So again, we covered this at the work session. I just wanted to present it again in your packets, so you can kind of see some of the larger activities that we are looking at. As we move forward, please.
There's over the course of the last year, the commission and Keith have had a lot of discussion some discussion with the council. Some things were voiced to the commission by the previously outgoing mayor. But there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of good discussion about reinstituting the payment in lieu of taxes. Richard, we had a good start of some discussions that started last year. That started last quarter. And I think that overall there's been comments from other commission members about looking to institute a payment in lieu of taxes, and it be electric and water, is how it's always been done in the past. And I know it's not called out here specifically, perhaps it's buried in one of the categories. I asked the commission members about considerations to do that in 2021.
Did the commissioners hear Mr. Harvey?
Difficult.
Okay. He was asking about if the commission is going to consider the pilot contribution for 2021. Is that, or do you want to repeat your, I'm sorry.
So I'll stand over here, so I won't spray it. I'll just say it loud.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it.
So there's, over the course of the last year, first there was the beginning of the year and the year before that where a lot of boisterous actions and comments were made by the outgoing mayor about payment in lieu of taxes. Things are changing now. We've started some good discussions
In the summer.
in the summer where we were working towards discussions about reinstituting a payment in lieu of taxes. And now you're working on the budget for 2021. And the question I ask is can the commission, or maybe it's buried already in some of the numbers of the budget because now they're kind of broad categories. But is there consideration, or could there be consideration of reinstituting the payment in lieu of taxes via both, as in the past, electric and water to some amounts? So that's the discussion that I'd like to generate on and reinstituting the payment in lieu of taxes so that we can get back to having that support, because it definitely is an impact on the city's budget. And we have some uncertain items coming up in our next year with the LGA potentially being trimmed quite a bit. So that's the area, and I don't know if you guys want to talk about online or offline, but it would be appreciated greatly.
Gentlemen, any comments?
Well, I think we just went through a vote that was basically be over the pilot program. I think the voters kind of spoke to that. That's my opinion.
Well, I guess I would just add, yes, they did, and if we're going to have any discussion about that amongst ourselves about how we want to handle it, I think would certainly not take place with the current administration. So I think we'll leave that and table that discussion till sometime after the new mayor and the new city council member join, and we'll go from there.
If I could
Rebut. One rebut, go ahead.
Regarding the commission and whether the commission would stand or not, I don't really know. So I really think the vote was about whether the commission would continue to operate or manage the Princeton utilities. And I think you're clearly right. There was a vote, and that the vote is yes, the commission is in charge. No question about it. I don't really think that. I think in addition, it was more about the relations. I think that the citizens want good relations between the PUC and the city. And I think that there's things that need to be improved over time. And I think was mentioned, the expectation is things will change with the incoming mayor. But I think that the payment in lieu of taxes support that the utilities provide to the city in the past is a different topic. But, and I can appreciate that you might, the comments you had made about waiting until the incoming mayor comes in to work on relations, perfectly fine. I'm just asking for it as you begin to go through your budget process so that you would be looking towards the future. Because I think we all want to work together, and that's what's important. You're talking about incentives and things like that. We certainly do want to work with developers. So this is just something that does help. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. PUC, if I can go back, are you looking for a motion to approve this proposal, or is that coming in our December?
That would be a December meeting, but actually I do have more that I want to continue on with.
I can't hear. Sorry, I can't hear Greg.
Oh, Greg asked if I was looking for a motion on the budget. I said I am not. My intention was, again, to present information and give people time to review and digest it. I anticipate bringing it to the commission in December for formal approval. But I do have a few other things that I want to go through real quick before we wrap up 8C. The other items in your packet is start looking at more of a 5-year capital plan for several different categories. Normally, we've looked at just this utility as electric and water. However, there is more and more emphasis on our IT system to make sure that we're providing the necessary tools for both internal as well as our external communications. And then also just being specific as to improvements made on our facilities, our building and grounds. And so in your packet is just, as we start to kind of put these numbers together to look at our servers and workstations and the different activities that we're undertaking to get our IT system more current and to make sure that we're staying current. So that's the first page in the 5-year plan. The next one is looking at the electric. As you will see, we are finishing up the AMI in 2021. We are continuing on with some underground work in the future. And then also, as we had discussed during the work session, to include a system study, as well as a little SCADA upgrade in the power plant for $15,000, but the system study for $30,000. And what that will do is, as we look forward to doing some repair work, some upgrade work at both the north sub and the plant sub, that system study is going to feed into some of those future costs. But as you can see, we do have some significant investments in the electric system that are on the horizon for us. And so I want to just kind of point that out. Excuse me. On the water side, again, AMI will continue to be an expense. Assuming $150,000 per year, we wrap up in 2023. If we stick with our $100,000 per year, then we push that out another year. And then we do have that potential 7th Avenue project. And Bob, I am including some engineering costs for that as well, because you had brought that up at the work session. And then just anticipating in the future that there will be some there. On the water towers, we're actually pretty good for a little bit. We are looking at to do a recoding on the north water tower. We had an engineering inspection done this year that said that's probably would be scheduled for a 2027, 2028 activity, but that could be $500,000. So it's not within the five-year time horizon, but I want to make sure that folks are aware that that is coming as well. On the water treatment plant, have a $75,000 in there for a valve replacement. That's what I'm working on before I actually put a number in a budget, but I do have that as a placeholder at the moment, just so that we don't forget about it. I did include the Minnesota Department of Health fee. If you recall, this commission approved, we used to pass that through to customers last year. And at the end of last year, we decided that we were just going to cover that cost. So in essence, gave a rate reduction to customers for 2020. That's an ongoing $16,000 cost that we're incurring at the moment. Oh, the other thing I should mention, it was in both the electric and the water side. Once the system study is done, once we have our long-term capital plan to understand what kind of upgrades will be necessary, try to put costs to it, start looking at bonding because we're looking at some significant investments on the electric side. I think it would be prudent in a 2022 timeframe or 2023, somewhere over the next 5 years for sure, to redo a rate study. to make sure that our revenues line up with where our expenditures are at as best as possible. A utility rate study is something that most utilities do every, oh, if I had to guess, 7 to 10 years. And so it would be a good, or if there's, they do them sooner if there's major changes to the system. Doing a rate study in the next couple of years, I think, would be very prudent. So just again, something else that I'm thinking about. Nothing that needs to be approved today, but just so that the commission is aware. The last page is just looking at the overall building and grounds. We do, our ongoing maintenance and reviews of the roofs of each building to make sure that they stay effective. And based off of the reports that the inspections that we have had done, we have a schedule for ongoing roof replacement just to keep those up to spec. So those are in there. And then for 2021 at the bottom, I did include the potato warehouse edition. I will be adding in vehicles. I don't anticipate any vehicle needs for next year, but obviously at some point, that has to happen as well. And then if there's any other major equipment. So this is, to me, it's a bit of a living document. It's something that I'm going to continue to add to and update, but I wanted to make sure the commission was aware of my thoughts. To help also put some of this stuff in context, I also provided the days of cash on hand report. And I also wanted to point out, I did include 2019's as well. We had been focused on 2020. And as the commission is aware, between AMI, between COVID impacts, and a lot of other things that have affected our community in the last year, I thought 2019 would help put some things in the context as well. You'll see that in January of 2019, our days of cash on hand on the electric side was 94. And then the general trend is, it can vary a little bit. It can go down. It can come up. You kind of hit your low points right there at the end of the summer. And then you build up some cash reserves over the winter. And the reason is because most of our projects are summer projects anyway. And so that's where you see some cash outlays. So as you're looking at 2020, it's not uncommon for things to dip down in a June, July, August timeframe, and then start creeping up again. So it is just, I think, an interesting pattern, just something to be aware of. But also wanted to point out that where we started out at, because we did put together a cash reserve policy at the end of 2019, and that's because we were seeing numbers in the low to mid 90s. And as you can see for 2020, we're in the mid to upper, upper 100s. I guess I mean to say kind of more in the 100 and single digits. And that's creeping up again as well. So I think we're making progress on all of those. So I think those trends are interesting and helps folks better understand what that means. Oh, absolutely, Jenny.
We got to hear.
The far right underwater, what are those two columns on the far right?
Oh, I actually, that was me just kind of looking around to say, if we took out $300,000, because we had talked about some, but also like with the AMI, if we accelerated the adoption of some of the AMI technology, or more specifically, when I talk about transfer, taking the money out of cash on hand and putting it into the CIF to build up the CIF fund, knowing that we've got a potential $500,000 expenditure for 7th. We have a potential $500,000 expenditure for the recoding of the North Water Tower. So if we did, knowing that we have, it would be good to build up that CIF for some major capital expenses. To take it out of the cash on hand and put it into the CIF, what would that do to that days of cash on hand calculation? That was a what if. It was a
They were not actual numbers.
no. It's a what if. I should have deleted that. That was my mistake. It's just, no, because the CIF is a restricted asset. So it does not count as days of cash on hand.
So your reserve policy, does it take into account your restricted asset? Because it is cash. It's cash for a specific asset.
Yeah, but it is not. I mean, everything that I've seen on the utility side is you don't count restricted assets as a cash on hand calculation.
But you can see how that, and I think to the members, you can see how that is pretty easily manipulated to put your days on hand, to put your reserve, your cash on hand to look lower, and then still have a sizable bank account. We don't have.
But the CIF is a restricted asset strictly for capital improvements, and it's for long-term infrastructure.
I understand. And we could do similar, but we look at that too. But you have a policy that looks at cash on hand, days
Right,
cash on hand. So your policy basically says, don't ignore that big savings account. Only look at these dollars.
And the reason is because your days of cash on hand number is what happens if there's an emergency. Say you lose the ability to collect revenues. How many days can you survive? And if that happens, I cannot use the CIF.
Unless the problem happens to be an item that you were putting long-term capital assets, for example, painting the water tower or a water tower fall
Right,
down.
but that's not an emergency situation.
If you had that in, and that was the emergency that occurred, then you could use $50 to correct the problem.
Right, but I'm talking about a loss of revenue. That's what the days of cash on hand is for, is if you can't collect the revenues necessary to maintain your day-to-day operations. And the CIF is for an infrastructure investment. You're right, if there is a tornado that comes through and I need to rebuild the poles, then I can use that for that infrastructure upgrade, but I cannot use it to pay salaries. I cannot use it to keep the building, keep this utility operating until that infrastructure gets replaced. So it's two different things.
They definitely are two different things. One of them is impacting our manner in which the commission considers the payment in lieu of taxes, which is very important to the city. If we were able to, we also have some major assets, in fact, assets that are more costly to replace than the utilities have. So, I mean, we also have to look at what it takes to run our assets and our organization too. And it impacts us when you cut $50,000. That's a lot. That's a big part.
Mr. Chair, if I may just make a statement.
Please.
The example that you used, Bob, seems like you have the same piggy bank too with the liquor store of $300 or $3 million there. So if you're looking for us to use our cash on hand or days with cash, and you want to look at that as a big pile of money in a savings account, you have the same thing. So if I don't wish to go into the pilot or $50,000 discussion, but you're looking at us saying one thing when you hold the same thing. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to discuss it, but that needs to be stated.
Annually draw liquor store fund to supplement the state.
Okay, Mr. Butcher, you want to finish up?
Yes, sir. Oh, actually, that was the last part of the budget discussion.
Okay, and so at this point, we moved to D, because you don't need a motion at this point.
No, I do not. It's more just presentation of information for now.
Then we'll move financial reports 8D.
Yes, there have been some questions that have come up, and looking at ways to make sure that this commission has all the information that it needs. I did provide in just some internal financial reports so the commission is aware of what we have, looking at an income statement, looking at our balance sheet, and then even looking at our trial balance. So these are this is information that shows kind of the current period, the year to date, as well as comparisons to the previous year, so the commission can start seeing what trends we have on the balance sheet. It is a summary of our assets, to see how that's changing, which includes such things as cash, includes our accounts receivable, includes our inventory, things that do just kind of vary from month to month, things that we track. And then we have that for both the electric and water. And then as an example, I also put in a copy of the trial balance, which again shows per each of our general ledger accounts, how money is moving in and out through revenues and expenses. And I guess I'm offering this because, my question is this valuable? Is there something in here that the commission would like to see included as a monthly report? It doesn't mean we have to talk about it every month, but at least it's in there so that the commission is able to review it and ask questions as they come up. So I thought, as we've been talking about this and trying to address a lot of different questions, especially since the commission is all relatively new. Dan's our longest tenured commissioner at what, like 2 years almost. I thought it would be good just to provide this information, this transparency, and see what the commission thinks. I'm looking for some direction.
Yeah, I appreciate the information, Keith, and I also appreciate the work you put into this, the budget so far too. So
I also enjoy reading and studying these things. I find it very interesting and fascinating. Maybe other people read a book, but oftentimes I'll grab some of these forms and study them and read them. It just helps so much for me.
I like getting these aged trial balances. I like getting these aged trial balances. Over a period of time, you'll be looking at one and you kind of absorb it. And then you look at the next month and the next month, and you start to see the variations. And it gives you a better kind of a gut feel for what's going on. Are we paying attention to the right things? And so I think this is a real plus. I'm not sure we have to go into the weeds on this every meeting, but if we have that as part of our packet, something else on Kathy's, because she's got nothing else to do over there, I'm sure. But if we can get these numbers, then I think if we have a day or two before our meetings, we can kind of highlight and say, hey, how come we're $37,000 in the hole here? What's up with that? And that can keep us on top of some of these discussions, and they can be more pointed and help focus our efforts on getting the stuff that needs to be done, so that when we make important decisions about rates and expenses that we have to make, we're doing it on the basis of things that we know instead of guesses we're trying to make about what could happen. So I think it's a big plus, and I appreciate having it. So thank you for that.
Yes, so then that does lead me into my next question, which is when I include this in the agenda packets, my follow-up question to this is if I include this in the agenda packets, I want to make sure that the commissioners have enough time to review it before the meeting. What is an appropriate amount of time? Is it okay to have the agenda packets ready by noon on Monday, considering our meetings are on Wednesday? Would the commissioners like it sooner than that, recognizing that, the sooner that we do it means, I obviously can't include things at the last minute like that are timely. So there's trade-offs either way, but I am happy to do whatever the commission finds valuable.
For me, if you had a Monday morning, that would give me what I need. It could be
Okay.
Monday evening and a Tuesday to.
Okay, so the chair, if you didn't hear it, said Monday morning is good for having agenda packets complete. Does that work for
That's
the
fine.
other commissioners?
Yeah, that works great for me, so.
Okay, so that
Is
will
there,
be.
possibly if the agenda packets aren't ready on Monday, is that something you could email?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay. That is what I had for financial reports, unless there's other questions or comments.
Anybody else? Any further questions on that? I'm about to go to the closed session. So that requires me reading a special statement, and we will move to a close. Are you ready for that?
If I may pause for a second. Jenny, Bob, any questions before we go into closed session? Okay, I just wanted to give them an
I might
opportunity.
have a question is whether I can participate via Zoom like the members of that in the future.
Send me a note, will you, so I remember to discuss that with Keith and we'll figure it out.
Okay, so yeah, you're gonna have to read.
Okay.
We have to go through that step by step.
Okay, so I'm going to call the closed session to order. This portion of the properly noticed special meeting of the Princeton Public Utilities Commission will be closed pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D to discuss the performance evaluation of the general manager. The need for confidentiality outweighs the purposes served by the open meeting law, in this case based on the following. Confidentiality is necessary to protect the employee's performance evaluation. The purpose of the closed meeting is not to make a decision behind closed doors, but instead to determine what process is necessary to complete a performance evaluation. The only business to be discussed in this portion of the meeting is the employee's performance evaluation. I will now entertain a motion to close this portion of the meeting at 14:22, 2:22 in the afternoon. And to that end, I'm waiting for a motion. Can I just make it? I make a motion pursuant to state statute section 13D to close the meeting to discuss the performance evaluation of the general manager. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say
Aye.
aye, aye, aye. Motion is carried. We are now in
Hold on a
closed.
second. Rick, can you, do you vote in favor?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I thought I heard a mumble.
okay, sorry.
So this meeting is now closed and we are discussing